Rockhampton, Queensland is defined by the Fitzroy River and its quiet, orderly grid of residential streets. It is a regional community where safety is often taken for granted. In this neighborhood, Tayla Black and her infant daughter, Murphy, shared a life that seemed typical of any young family in the area. That normalcy ended when emergency services arrived. Investigators established a crime scene after discovering both Tayla and her infant daughter were dead. The discovery led to a central question resonating across Australia. What happened inside that home? When a community's sense of security is shattered so abruptly, the demand for answers is immediate. Investigators were forced to look beyond the physical scene to find them. This timeline illustrates a significant forensic anomaly. Medical evidence established an earlier time of death, yet digital logs showed messages allegedly sent from Tayla's phone hours later. These timestamps manufactured a false narrative, making it appear both victims were still alive. For the Queensland police, this meant managing two parallel investigations, one focused on the physical evidence and another on a seemingly fabricated digital trail. This digital illusion turned the case into a complex puzzle, where the only path to the truth was raw forensic data. This is the Fortitude Valley Police Station, where the Queensland Police Service began coordinating the resources for a full-scale homicide investigation. Forensic teams returned to the home, beginning a rigorous collection of physical evidence to verify the estimated sequence of events. Neighbors were interviewed, and preliminary statements were gathered to see if any physical observations contradicted the activity shown on the digital logs. By combining CCTV footage from the surrounding area with precise phone tracking, investigators mapped the true movements of those connected to the address. Once the manufactured digital narrative was set aside, the metadata allowed police to identify a primary suspect. The reconstructed timeline focused heavily on Matthew James Cox. Investigators tracked Cox as he allegedly left Rockhampton, with evidence placing him at an airport as he moved away from the region. The search concluded 2 days later when Cox voluntarily surrendered to police in another jurisdiction. Matthew James Cox was formally charged with murder. He has not been convicted, and the court process remains ongoing. With the suspect in custody, the investigation transitioned from a search for movements to a formal legal examination of the evidence. This is the Queen Elizabeth II Courts of Law, the site of the committal hearing where the strength of the police evidence was first tested. The court heard testimony from family members and bartenders who described Cox's behavior and interactions in the days preceding the deaths. Witnesses also provided medical context, recounting changes in Cox's behavior following a previous mental health hospitalization. These accounts included specific statements attributed to Cox that were entered into the court record as part of the evidence. For the court, this psychological context is necessary to distinguish the physical actions of the timeline from the legal requirements of intent. Following the hearing, the magistrate committed the case to the Supreme Court for trial, ruling that the evidence was sufficient to proceed. The nature of the case has resulted in significant media attention, placing the legal process and the families involved under constant scrutiny. Within Rockhampton, the community continues to grapple with the emotional impact of losing two of its residents in such a violent manner. The loss of a mother and child within their own home sparked a national conversation regarding family violence awareness and the support available for victims. While the police have clarified the mystery of the timeline, the broader questions of why this tragedy occurred remain a subject of deep concern. The final determination of truth and accountability belongs solely to the legal system, far away from public speculation. As the case moves toward trial, the Supreme Court must still resolve several significant questions based on the evidence presented. The resolution of the Rockhampton tragedy depends on the methodical progression of the trial and the court's eventual verdict.